The following program may contain coarse language, violence, nudity, mature subject matter, or scenes which may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. You should know that by now. I've been here for 35 years every night with you since then. www.xzoneradiotv.com is our website, and we're coming to you tonight around the world on Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, the X Zone Broadcast Network, and on Channel 34 on simultv.com. Now, before I bring my guest out this hour, his name is MOISES SZARF. I'd just like to remind everyone that if you would like free access, I'm talking free, the F-R-E-E word. Well, if you'd like free access to 50 exclusive TV channels, 95 online games that are available in 5 different languages, and thousands of movies on demand, all free, just go to www.504free.ca. That's 50. That's the number 50. The word for free.ca. That's 54free.ca. And you can have access to those 50 exclusive channels, of which the X Zone TV channel is one of them. 95 online video games in 5 different languages. And of course, thousands of movies available on demand with compliments of Relmar McConnell Media Company, all our divisions and affiliates, our broadcast partner, and good friends at SimulTV, and their website is simultv.com. MOISES SZARF is our special guest this hour, and let's bring MOISES on. And MOISES, welcome back to the X Zone. Where are you? There you are. Hi there. How are you tonight, my friend?
Amazing. This is the second time on the show, and we've talked about it. The first time was 18 years ago. So
wow.
Incredible.
And you know what? You haven't changed a bit.
I am a Gen Xer, and I think you are a baby boomer.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Like my mother.
How is your mother, by the way?
Well, amazing, and she is the one that really it's through her that I get in touch with all of this, that we are going to be talking tonight. Like many good things in my life, she has been the channel for many good things in my life.
You brought up something very important, and I think we should remind our listeners and our viewers around the world that this coming Sunday is Mother's Day. So if you forgot because you're working too hard, because the kids are driving you crazy,
right.
Well, first of all, you were a kid, you used to drive your parents crazy. So now it's, what goes around comes around. Remember, Mother's Day, this coming Sunday, do something nice for your mom. They've done so much for us over our lives that if we can't say thank you once a year to our moms, it's pretty bad. But I personally, I believe we should say thank you each and every day while you can, because, for example, my mom passed away 2 years ago, and I'll tell you something, she's missed each and every day. So take the opportunity, Mother's Day this coming Sunday. And why not tomorrow morning, wherever you are, just call up your mom and say, hey, Mom, just thinking about you. I had to call and say I love you and thank you for everything. MOISES, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is MOISES SZARF, and how did he get the Ethereal Connection going?
Well, I live in South Florida. I was born in Venezuela, but immigrated here to the United States around the year 2000, to December of the year 2000. So a long time ago. I've been here I've been living here ever since. I work with digital marketing, in doing SEO. You might know what that is. SEO,
sure, search engine
SEM.
optimization. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's my profession. And with regards to what brings us here today, the Ethereal Connection, basically what it is, Rob, is I'm trying to frame. I am framing the history of rock and roll as a phenomenon, but within what I call its highest purpose. So imagine a process, like the process of rock and roll, but within its highest purpose. That basically I am, defining it as the messianic aspect of rock and roll, saving the world in a way, or making an important contribution as rock and roll, did when it just first sprang in the world, an important contribution to the betterment of the planet, the balancing of the planet, and a big counterbalance to all the bad things, and probably even being a big factor in stopping bad things from happening. So it's again a process, but what's the highest purpose of rock and roll, and essentially uh, proposing that this highest purpose is essentially, it was fulfilled in a way, but there's more to come. But right now it's completely stagnated.
Right. Okay, Matthew, I'm sorry, Moises, my producer is asking me if you can back off from your microphone a little bit because you're blowing his ears apart.
Sorry, Matthew.
It's okay. What was it in the Beatles song, With or Without, or not? The Beatles didn't do that song, but I was thinking of Within You, Without You. What was it, With or Without You, that song that changed your life in an instant?
I became a U2 fan in 1987 at that moment. Basically, again, Rob, my mother had gone to New York. The year 1987 was the year that the CD format exploded, and we had a CD player at home back in Venezuela, but there were yet no stores that sold CDs yet, but we had the device. So she went to New York and she just entered Tower Records, and just asked the guy there, hey, give me the top 5. And among those top 5 CDs, the top sellers of the year were Def Leppard, Hysteria, Paul Simon, Graceland. There was a Madonna album. There was a band called Cutting Crew with the song I Just Died in Your Arms Tonight. You know that song?
Right, yeah,
probably.
Sure.
Right. And there was this other album with a very lame, as I saw it, cover, black and white cover, which turned out to be the Joshua Tree from U2. And I opened, one by one with the cellophane paper, how they came back then, and I was going by the covers, the one that I liked the most, because I didn't really know the bands. And the one that I had left for last was U2's The Joshua Tree, because that cover was just like 4 guys, black and white, like kind of fuzzy, and it just didn't attract me. Okay, so then I called a friend, and he, I told him about, hey, I have CDs. You want to hear CDs? And he told me, what do you have? I told him this, and I have U2 The Joshua Tree. And when I told him that, he basically just jumped and said, what? You have U2 The Joshua Tree in CD format? Come to my house. And he lived a couple of blocks from me. And, I went there walking, still unopened, with the CD unopened on the cellophane, and arrived to his house. Imagine the sound systems of the 1980s, the good ones with the equalizers and the big speakers, right? Right? You know what I'm talking about?
I sure do.
Yeah. They don't exist anymore. So entered, we were sitting on his living room. I think we probably were home alone, or his parents were not there. And we were 15 years old. and he just, takes the CD, opens the cellophane, and he says, "I'm gonna play With or Without You for You." That's the single right now. And as soon as the song started playing, I don't know if you recall that song. If not, I'll share it with you. But it starts with a very ethereal guitar that's completely in contrast of everything that was happening in the 80s. I mean, that sound on the beginning of the song, just sort of hypnotized me. Just that beginning of the song, and then a very rhythmic bass starts,
Yeah.
and then Bono's voice comes in, and his voice is really what just took it to the other level for me. As far as, I felt sort of a pain in his voice that resonated with me, and this I can explain it to you years after. Back then I was completely hypnotized and completely taken by the song, and basically for all of the almost 4 minutes that it lasts, or a little more than 4 minutes, I was completely immersed and completely hypnotized by that.
Well, it's a great song, and U2 is one of my favorite bands, and so are the Beatles. And when we come back, I'd like to talk to you about the Ethereal Connection, a synthesis of U2 and the Beatles. My special guest this hour is MOISES SZARF, and we'll both be back after this short break. Don't go away. Exonation, MOISES SZARF is our special guest. The website is the etherealconnection.com. So let me ask you this, MOISES. What is the Ethereal Connection, a synthesis of U2 and the Beatles?
Rob, it's basically a reflection of the experience that I had in 1994 that led me to propose what I'm proposing on the Ethereal Connection, or what I'm working to propose. This will become probably a book and many other things, but the website right now, what you see there, it's a journey of album cover comparisons of both U2 and the Beatles, showing the parallelism of their careers, the synchronicity of their careers, which is what I, let's say, saw or discovered back then, that day in 1994. So I'm just recreating the experience that I had the fortune of having.
So what are some of the similarities that you've noticed?
The main one, let me just backtrack a little bit.
Sure.
And just explain how this happened, okay? Because that's really important. Basically, my mother, again, this is why this comes through. My mother had a very good friend from college, and they just kept on being friends after that. And he lived in a city that was not Caracas, where we lived, in another city. And every time he came to Caracas for to do business matters or anything, he stayed at our house. And he is a huge Beatles fan, huge Beatles fan. And I have it here. Let me show you. My mom was also a Beatles fan, okay?
Right.
And she had this Beatles connection, since I can remember, okay? That was there on our library at our house, just above, in one of the shelves above. And just one of the times, we were really good friends with Juan. His name is Juan Raydan, Juan Raydan. And one day he said, "You know what? I want to grab the album covers, for, the albums from the Beatles, those vinyls, that collection that your mother has. And would you mind sitting down with me? I just want to tell you the history of the Beatles by looking at it." And in my childhood, I always saw that box there, but was never, too, let's say, attracted to just grab it and open it like I did it a couple of times when I was a kid. So he basically, proposed that to me. "Hey, come, let's let's sit down and I'm going to show you the history of the Beatles. By then I was already a very big U2 fan, and he just took all of them and started relating the history one by one. He ordered them chronologically and started telling me the history of the Beatles. This whole thing lasted probably 2 hours. Okay. But the big thing happened when he got to Sgt. Pepper, right? He just started explaining, what Sgt. Pepper was and the phenomenon that it was, how the Beatles, this explosion of colors, and how the Beatles adopted this alter ego. They were not the Beatles anymore. They were the Sgt. Pepper Lonely Hearts Club Band, and with these, costumes and colors and this psychedelic music, new psychedelic music, all of that changed, right? That Sgt. Pepper was. And what he was relating at that moment was what I was going through with U2, with the album Achtung Baby. Okay, so that's what really called my attention is, wow, all that he's saying, all this explosion of colors had happened with U2 as well. I mean, they were coming from, let's say, a black and white period in album covers, and then suddenly this complete change that U2 did from the Joshua Tree, Rolling Home until towards Achtung Baby, which was the explosion. And that really called my attention. Okay. Then after he finished, I also did a little bit of the same. I told him a little bit about the history of U2, but then he left the next day. But the album covers remained. Okay. I took him to my room. They just remained in the same order that he had put them together, and I had all the U2 albums. So I said, I need to take a look again, at this Sgt. Pepper thing with Achtung Baby. So I grabbed both of the covers. Okay, really, really colorful. I mean, Achtung Baby is super colorful. It's an explosion of colors, right? So I put both of them together like that, and then I saw a particular thing, and then I said, you know what? Let me put both of the bands from the first album to the last together, and let me start comparing, because basically, Rob, that was the key moment. Sgt. Pepper and Achtung Baby, which planted a seed there where basically I saw everything that I have concluded, in almost 30 years of work. I saw everything in that second. And then I entered sort of like a trance, and I ordered the album covers again, and this is the first thing I saw. I saw this album. Okay, this is the second Beatles album, but he had made a mistake. He showed me this one as the first. And I saw that as the first ones, okay, the first album. So look at that.
Oh, okay. Moises, can you keep the album covers down, please?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Copyright, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I'm sorry. Just that strong similarity of those two first album covers got me in let's say they awoke in me this thing of looking for similarities in the albums.
Right.
I had like let's say like a little organ album similarity detection, and I saw, as I was passing the album covers, I saw an important similarity in each one. And then right at the same moment, chronologically, in parallel, in synchrony, then comes the explosion of colors. So let's call it, you can call it a cambric explosion, okay? And basically, as I'm telling you, I already kind of thought, wow, this is a process that was repeated. That U2, that happened with the Beatles, a whole cycle, and it happened again with U2. At that moment, the words were not that clear, but I sensed that from the very first moment. So that changed my life completely, and it's really like a before and after.
Did you do a similar review of other albums that are out there by other groups? For example, the Rolling Stones, the Turtles, the Beach Boys, to see if there was any other similarity or any other marketing
Right.
that had been done by the various companies like Columbia, Capitol, and so on?
Right. I mean, I understand your question. I have not done that. I have seen how, and clearly some bands, okay, have the strength, okay, to really evolve from album to album, and that's really what the Beatles did. They
Sure.
every album was an evolution from the previous one, not a complete in some of them, but a change. Every step of the way they were evolving.
But we
Not
saw
all
that with it.
bands are sorry,
But we-
not all bands are able to do that.
Okay. Once again, I'm going to ask you not to go too close to your microphone because it kind of blows the sound up over here. So what did this mean to you when you took a look at the door? I'm sorry, not the Doors, but YouTube. Why do I call them YouTube, Craig? Oh, YouTube and the Beatles. Why just these two bands? This is my question. When there were other bands of the same era, the same genre, for example, the Beach Boys, they had a progressive marketing on their albums as well. So I'm just kind of wondering why the focus on just these two bands, the Beatles and U2.
It's a torch. I mean, there's no doubt that the Beatles carried the torch of what happened in rock and roll. Yes,
Sure.
I mean, the Beach Boys were incredible, Rolling Stones, all of those, right? But the ones that carried the torch were the Beatles. And when they broke up, okay, John Lennon kept on his own path, which was really important.
Sure.
Paul McCartney, his own path. George Harrison, his own path. But a void was left after they broke up, and this is where the phases of the process that I'm conveying are important, right? The Beatles broke up, and there was a void. Then rock and roll kept on sort of evolving or on evolving, and let's say the big concert thing happened with Pink Floyd, where you had these huge concerts with the wall coming up. It all became very theatrical. And what happened at that moment? The phenomenon of punk happened as a reaction against what was happening in rock and roll. With the Sex Pistols in the UK, with the Ramones in the US, basically back to basics. In the garage, 3 chords, rock and roll, as basic as it is, the way it started, right? And punk saved rock and roll in that sense. And sorry, just to finish the idea to your question, okay? And U2 is a post-punk band that it comes from punk. They were initially actually a punk band, but the thing about U2 was that they had grander visions, okay? They cared a lot about the world, and so the torch that let's say John Lennon ignited with everything he did, with Yoko and everything, the band that really has the courage to say, this is important, someone needs to continue this, consciously or unconsciously, who knows, but they had that ambition. It's both the evolution from album to album in combination, and this is super important, Rob, this is to your question, in combination with the highest purpose of rock and roll, which is using fame, using rock and roll to improve the world, right? So that's why U2 is the band that takes, really hijacks the torch from everyone else, and that's why it's so controversial, because a lot of people, as opposed to the Beatles, which is really universal, the love of the Beatles, right? U2 has sold 100 million albums, right? So it's not that they're not popular, but to say that U2 is the band that inherited the torch from the Beatles and really took it as far as the Beatles, in the sense of completing a process of 13 albums evolving from one album to the other, it's U2, the band that did it.
Exonation, our guest this hour is MOISES SZARF. His website is www.theetherealconnection.com. And I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight, MOISES. And once again, Exonation, please check out his website at www.theetherealconnection.com. I'll be back after this break. Don't go away.